Right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 11:05 and we are about to start a biomedical science event, which is titled What Comes Next? This is an alumni event, so we have gathered a wonderful group of people to talk to you, to answer your questions, to let you know about what came next for them. So this has been organised by our alumni relations team, and I, as course leader, am just here to guide you through. It's not about me, it's about you guys and about our alumni. What we're going to do today, we are going to do a bit of housekeeping. Then I'm going to get the panel to briefly introduce themselves. They're going to do a little bit of talking about who they are, where they are, how they got where they are. And as you listen to that, you can be thinking of maybe some questions for them. You can always type your questions in the chat. We have a wonderful team of moderators. They are going to collate the chat for you. And then I'm going to ask the panelists some pre-scripted questions. We're going to give them time to answer. And again, let your minds wander, think about questions you might want to ask them, put those in the chat. And then we can have a lovely long time at the end when you can just ask questions, listen to the answers and bounce ideas around. Does that all sound okay? If you've got any questions about that, put that in the chat. The moderating team will answer those questions for you. So that's what we're going to do. But before we get into the What Comes Next event, I have Dr. David Gaze here because he wants to say a few words to you before I get started. So I give them to you, David.
Thank you, Lorna. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Lorna. Okay, so just before we start this exciting event, it's great that we have such good support from the alumni team here to help us with this. And thank you to our alumni for joining today. We know that your time is precious, but we know that you've had such great experiences here at Westminster that it's great to tell your students or our students what you've done since you've left us. It's great to have you back with us. I just want to do a quick shout out to say if everybody at level 6 has taken the time to complete the National Student Survey. If you haven't, it's still open. We do really benefit from your feedback. Tell us how you've done with the course, what you've liked about the course, what maybe you have as suggestions for changes for the course, because that helps us to improve our courses across the university and deliver new and revalidated courses which will benefit students in the future. So please do let us know your opinion. If you should have seen emails come through on the links. I'll send in a link there to the Westminster page for the National Student Survey. And another shout out for an event that's happening on site tomorrow, 3 till 5 p.m. I know some of you might have teaching during that time, but we have a school-wide event, which is a life science networking event. We have some external people that come from the world of biomedical sciences, from pharmaceuticals, from other areas of life sciences that are going to come and talk to you. And we have a networking event. It's at 3 to 5 p.m. in the pavilion. There is a registration page on the Westminster Engage site, so go and have a look at that. But do feel free to drop in at that time between 3 to 5 p.m. tomorrow. Thank you very much, and back to Lorna.
Thank you, David. Lovely. I'm going to try and pop in and have a look and see what that looks like tomorrow when I get out my session. Awesome. Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Thank you, David. Okay, so just to remind all of you guys that this session will be recorded, but you as students attending will not be recorded. So don't feel that anything you put in the chat is going to be made public. What will happen is the moderators will moderate those questions. They'll hand over the questions to me, and then I'll put the questions to our panelists, and that part will not be recorded. So your names and your ID numbers, although we are collecting those for attendance records, because this is a teaching session, we are not going to be sharing that with the recording. So don't feel that is going to hamper you asking any questions that you've got. Your cameras and your microphones are automatically turned off. This is to stop too much noise going on whilst our alumni are speaking. And again, if you want to ask questions, just put them in the live chat. So and also bear with us, the connections are not always perfect. So if your connection gets a little bit wobbly and you have to drop out and rejoin, just please do that. Take your time. We're not going to be whizzing through anything too fast, so just bear with us if the connections go a little bit wobbly. Our alumni in particular, they're working in different sites. We have people in offices and labs trying to join in, so just bear with us with any connection issues that might happen. Okay, so who have I got in the room today, you guys? Have just put in the chat, are you level 5 or level 6? We've got level 5 students in here today. So if you're level 5, maybe put that in the chat too. Just helps me to see, you know, who's joining and who's really interested. If you are level 5, then that's really good because you're a little bit ahead of the game. So this is really meant for our level 6s, but if you're level 5, welcome, and I hope you enjoy it too. Okay, so we've got 4 wonderful alumni. We've got Deborah, and we've got Tazin, and we've got, I don't know if Beatrice is here yet, we've got Beatrice, and then we've got Matty Marcus. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask each of these in turn to introduce themselves and just spend a few moments telling you about themselves, about the job role that they're doing at the moment. So if we could have Deborah, are you ready to go first for our students?
Yes, can you hear me and see me?
Yes, lovely, Deborah, thank you.
Hi, so I'm Debs. Of course, I love talking about myself, as Lorna mentioned. I'll try not to take up too much time. So I work as a senior, so I think I'll go back to when I was a student. So I graduated from Westminster in 2020, and I did biomedical science. And then I did my master's after that, and I graduated in 2021. After that, I secured a position as a graduate research associate for a gene therapy company, which is what I work for now. So I'm currently a senior research associate. Mainly, we just do gene therapy research for patients who have motor neuron disease. So we do, well, I personally do all the in vitro testing, testing of AAV, testing of plasmids before we take it to clinical trials. So I'm looking forward to answering all your questions and telling you guys a little bit more about my experience at Westminster.
Lovely, thank you, Deborah. All right then, so let's hear Tarsin.
Hi, Lorna.
Hello. Yes, lovely.
And hello to David in the background. Thank you for letting me be a part. And good morning to all the level 6 and 5 students. I am Tasin Taspia. I graduated from Westminster in 2022, so very recently. And after that, from the get-go, I went to the master's course, which is physician associate. I'm in my second year now, so in my final year, it's my placement year, so I'm in my secondary care placement. I got to know about this physician associate program during my third year of the Westminster course when I was attending one of these What's Next events. So that's how I got to know about one of the physician associate, and then from there I did some clinical experiences, did some HCA shifts, and then yeah, here I am.
Wonderful, thank you very much. All right then, do we have Beatrice?
Hello.
Hey, hello.
Can you hear me and see me? Hopefully
I
you can. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for having me. So I'm a biomedical scientist graduate. I graduated in 2020, like Deborah. I'm a biomedical scientist currently working in histopathology. I'm also doing the masters. So I'm back at Westminster doing my masters with you guys, which I'll be finished at the end of this year. So doing my, funny enough, like you guys, level 6, most of you will be here, that's the time when I've realized in the cell path module that was what I liked the most. So once I graduated from Westminster, I just went straight into histopathology, and from there on had different roles until I registered as a biomedical scientist, which is what I currently am.
Perfect, thank you very much, Beatrice. All right, and our last panelist, Matty Marcus.
Sorry, once again.
It's okay.
So I hope you can see me and hear me now. Hi, thank you for having me as well. So my name is Marcus. I graduated biomed in Westminster as well on 2020. We had our graduation, I think, a couple years later because of COVID and trying to figure everything out. But after my degree, I had kind of I would say a break from academia for 3 years. So I was trying to get into postgraduate medicine for 2 years, and then it was just going where I wanted to go. And then I found out about the physician associate course as well. So yeah, this year now, in January, I started doing physician associate at Queen Mary, and this should be a 2-year program. But in the meantime, in the 3 years, I gained experience in clinical trials. So it was kind of a healthcare associate position. And then I also worked the head office, helping to organize everything in our studies, so it would run smoothly. Yeah. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you very much. All right, panelists, so in the same order as before, so we're going to start with Deborah and go through. I'd like you to answer this one, please. So, how was your experience at Westminster as a student? This is a sort of multi-layered question. So, how was your experience at Westminster as a student? And did Westminster help you figure out the direction you wanted to go in? And if yes, how did it do that? So this is a multi-layered question talking about your experiences at Westminster and how they prepared you for where you're going now in terms of helping you decide your direction.
That's a good question.
Multi-layered question. Run with that one.
Yeah, I mean, overall, my experience at Westminster, I would say, was positive. In terms of figuring out my direction, for me personally, it was mainly speaking to a lot of other students the year above me. I think also building a good relationship with your lecturers as well. I think during my final year project, I had a very close relationship with my supervisor, and I think simple things such as asking them, well, what did you do when you when you graduated or when you finished, and what are my options, like what is available to me. And I think just the more that you talk, the more that you're able to understand the different pathways that are available to you as a biomed student. And then from there, it just opened up researching, it opened up, having access to the mentoring program. I can't remember what it's called at Westminster. I think it's just, there's a mentoring program that I did. Engage as well. There's on a platform called Engage. So I did a lot of, roles within the university, and that gave me a lot of transferable skills. And that was my personal sort of experience at Westminster.
Awesome, Deborah, that's brilliant. So Deborah is encouraging you guys to be proactive and talk and ask questions and put yourself in positions where you have experience. That's really good, Deborah. Thank you very much. Okay, Tahsin, would you like me to repeat that question for you, because it's quite a multi-layered question, isn't it?
Sure, yes.
So this question is how was your experience at Westminster as a student in terms of helping you choose your direction, and let you explore where you wanted to go next? How did Westminster do that for you?
So before starting my biomedical science course, I wanted, like Marcus mentioned, I wanted to do medicine as well. But then I did the interviews, but it didn't go through. Then I chose biomedical science. And it really was, as Deborah mentioned as well, very positive in terms of getting me helping with my basic foundational knowledge in terms of medicine, specific modules like anatomy, functional anatomy, human physiology, infection and immunity, how they work in the background. So when we were doing those lab procedures, how the blood works, what are the blood test results, and now when I'm checking the blood test results, I know how this was done, how that was done. So it really provided me with a strong understanding of the human body and the biological system, how that helps in terms of aiding the diagnosis and treatments. And during my course, the whole 3 years course, I was during my first year, I was a course rep, and my second year, I was engaged with some extracurricular activities. So I was a president of Reading Society, and then I also did some other part-time jobs. And then during my third year, working with the thesis helped me gain more knowledge into human body, critical thinking. I worked to my supervisor was David, so it was really helpful to have him as my supervisor. And then
Okay, so yours is more about the fundamental knowledge and the actual academic curricula. So yeah, that's very good. Yeah, thank you, Tazin. Okay, so Beatrice, would you like me to repeat the question, or are you happy to just go with it?
If you can just repeat it, please.
Yeah, it's quite a long question. So this question is that how was your experience at Westminster in terms of helping you and preparing you for choosing the direction in which you're going to go, and how did that help you?
So I had a good experience at Westminster, I have to say. I was involved in sort of like an ambassador, where you'd be able to participate in, be part of the team that organizes different events. So it was really good for networking. You get to meet people not just within life science, but within other colleges and specialities as well. I found very helpful the fact of be able to ask our lecturers. So I would speak to David, for example, and so I'm very interested on this, what sort of career, use the experience of our lecturers and see how they can advise us based on what we think we want to go towards. I also found very helpful the careers department. I remember having a few meetings with them where we kind of walked through what I wanted to do, and they kind of helped me see what positions I could apply for, what sort of work experience I could look into in order to guarantee again those jobs. Especially because a lot of time there's confusions with people think that once they graduate from a biomedical science course, they are automatically a biomedical scientist, which is incorrect. So you need to go and do your portfolio. So it's kind of walking you through what steps you need. And I found the careers team was very helpful with that. And as I said, also lecturers and talking to them and getting that sort of opinion based on their experience, I have to say. And as I said, during my final year with this cellular pathology module is when I really realized I really enjoyed doing this. And I think this is what I want to do as a career. And then I went on and got a job on this. And I have to say, based on, with other peers and experiences through different roles, how much the cellular pathology knowledge we gain at Westminster stands out from other universities. There would be many things that I was able to do or recognized based on everything I learned in that module that maybe other colleagues from other universities didn't get to go to that level and depth of knowledge. So it's very interesting to see how other universities teach and to compare how useful I found this module gave me all of that knowledge that perhaps other people at other universities didn't get that chance.
It's really good to hear, Beatrice. Thank you. So you did a similar thing to Deb's in terms of engaging with the employability service and actually doing one-to-ones with them and them helping you explore your options, which is really proactive. That's a really good thing to do, and they're there. And then, just asking the right questions. But it's also bridging what Tarsin said about getting career-shaped academic knowledge that is actually giving you the edge in the workplace. So really good, thank you. All right, and Marcus.
All right, thank you. I think I'm not probably gonna add anything new to this. I was gonna say the same thing as Tassin, that I think the biggest thing I got from Westminster was the fundamental knowledge that I needed to go into, let's say, clinical trials, start from there, and then especially for the physician associate masters, because I think only certain undergraduate degrees can get into that program. So you need like a good base, and I feel like Westminster was a very good university to provide me that. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I think that's it. Thank
and
you.
Matthew, just remind us all how you wanted to go to med school, but then how was it that you came across physician associate?
Oh, so I tried to do, so there's this exam called UKCAT, and I think I studied for 2 years in a row for I think 2 months, and I was like, this is going great, this is going great. But then every time it came, my result wasn't great enough because it's a very, very competitive program to get into graduate entry medicine. And then the doctors at my work were telling me that there is this new position, which is called physician associate, which is quite similar. It's also very similar to nurse practitioner. And I was like, this is something that I would like to do, and it's very close to what my kind of life plan A was. So I started doing more research about it, and I understood like, wait, I would love to do this. So I just checked what I need to do, and yeah, started from there. And now
Awesome.
doing
Thank you,
this
Marcus.
program.
Yeah, thank you. All right, the next question is a little bit easier for you. So in the same order, please, starting with Debs. So you have to take your mind back to the situation where our level sixes are in now. So these guys in the room, there's a big bundle of them listening to you. So they are in your position. I want you to go back to that level 6 self that you once were and think about what were your worries in terms of employment opportunities. So what were you most worried about? And then compare that with your actual experiences.
I was worried about everything. I think because I graduated in 2020, it was COVID, it was a mess. I think everyone felt it. I didn't feel confident enough to put myself in a position to actually apply for jobs. First of all, it was okay, are people still going to be hiring? Will I have the necessary, experience? Because my time in the lab was sort of cut short. And I was very conscious that I was sort of competing against people who had perhaps more lab experience than I did, and all I had up to that point was my degree, which I had just about got. So for me, it was lack of experience and also just having COVID around, and your life kind of just stopped there. Um, my actual experience, I would say, because of the circumstances of the time, I really, really focused on transferable skills. I think, again, because I did so much within the university, I did so much outside of the university. And I think employers were very understanding of the fact that our experience, our university experience was different because of COVID. But then again, okay, I could talk about resilience. I was resilient. I persevered. I was more creative in terms of thinking about how I am the ideal candidate to them. And I think that's what put me ahead of other people. I was very also proactive on LinkedIn. I was on LinkedIn every day, like it was Instagram or TikTok. I was very heavy on LinkedIn. I asked for advice. I had video calls with people as well. Everyone is cooped up in their homes. More people are sort of available to offer their advice to you. And the worst that people could say is no, and a no is not the end of the world. I think it's important to just put yourself out there, and it's one of the best ways for you to sort of understand how to get into the profession that you want. So yeah, I just made it clear to employers that, look, this is my situation. I might not have the most lab experience in the world, but I'm a fast learner because of this. I'm resilient because of this. I have this skill from here, and this is how it applies to you guys, and that's why you should hire me. So it was challenging, it was difficult, but I think just continuously putting myself out there, asking people to review my CVs, my cover letter as well. Really take time to work on your CV and cover letter. Don't just dash it out. I know it's easy to just be lazy and just, especially with easy apply in LinkedIn, you just upload the CV and it's done. But really take the time, if you're serious about applying to that position, and take the time to really tailor it, and you'll be okay.
Thank you, Debs. Lovely. Tazin. So our question now is about what were your worries and how did that compare to the reality?
So I haven't had the experience into the job hunt yet, because when I was in my biomedical course, undergraduate course as well, after the undergraduate course, I didn't even plan on going to the job world or working. Either I wanted to do a master's or do any other programs, because I thought I haven't finished learning. That's what, yeah. But in terms of worries I had was, what am I going to do after this? So I didn't know what to do until third year. So in second year, during my first or second year, I sort of thought that I wanted to have a patient-facing role, so wanted to work in a hospital, have that hands-on care for patients instead of working in a lab. So, but I didn't want to do medicine as well because it was a long 5-year course and it was gonna be hectic. So uh, I was really worried during my second year, during the COVID year, what to do. I was just doing my lectures, completing my assignments, that's it. And then, yeah, during the third year, when I had that experience of the what's next event, then I got to know about the physician associate program, and then I started researching on that program, and then I had the opportunity. Then we came out of COVID during my last end of my program, and then we had a talk of a physician associate that came to the university, to Westminster University, and then yeah, I started researching on that program, and then I had the careers as well to help me with my CV, we helped me with my personal statement, and helped me with my interview as well after getting the interviews from 3 universities. So yeah.
Lovely. Thank you, Tyson. Beatrice?
Hello.
So what were your worries, and compare them to the actual reality?
So very similar worries is the fact that you don't know how employers are going to perceive you, because you don't know, you don't have all the experience that they might want you to have. So in what I did was I used all the experience that we had in the lab throughout my degree and just wrote a little bit about how that can help me succeed in that road, how I know how to behave in a lab, I know how to be safe in a lab. I used everything I could from the practicals that you did in order to stand out and say, I know how to behave, which is basically what they want. They want you to be safe in a lab. They know that at that level, you're not going to go in and do everything, every task that you have to do in the lab. As long as you know how to behave, you know the importance of health and safety and quality in a lab, then they know that they can train you on everything else. So that's what I did. I used everything that I gained, both from lectures and from practicals, and I kind of put that in applications. I knew that I wanted to go into the NHS because that's where you're most likely to complete your IBMS portfolio, which is what my goal was. And I knew I wanted to go into histopathology, which kind of made my options slightly smaller because is a small specialty. Well, small. There are less jobs usually available for histopathology. So I just started applying. I was pretty lucky because we finished in July and I started working in August, but I started looking for jobs, if I remember correctly, in January. That's when I started. I sent lots of job applications. I used the careers team to help me tailor that application. I spoke also with some of my peers that had done placements and kind of get feedback from them on my application because they were in the workplace and they knew what kind of they're looking for. So yeah, it was just talking to your peers, using the careers team and trying to tailor. I do agree with Deborah, it's very important to tailor your application for each one of the jobs. They will be overall similar, especially if you're applying for similar roles. But if you add in that extra paragraph maybe, or add in that extra sort of experience that exactly matches that job or the ethos of that company, you will stand out and you're more likely to get to the interview. And from then on, you can stand out again at the interview and show how much you want to be in that role. But especially at those sort of entry level positions, they are very understanding that you're coming from a university, and unless you did a placement in your university, you're not going to know how, you're not going to have that workplace experience. So they're very understanding. So they all expect from you is to have done your research and to show what you learned and how you reflect on what you gained from your experience, how you can carry on to your new career.
Oh, thank you, Beatrice. So Beatrice is actually, to my mind, sort of reassuring you guys and saying, okay, you don't have to be expert in all the techniques you learned. You just have to have got a good solid background and be, if you want to go into the lab, be safe in the lab and just be specific about the kind of thing that you want to be applying for in your application. So she's really reassuring. That's really nice, Beatrice. Thank you.
It is very important. So just to add on, so I do a lot of with placement students interviews for coming into my department, and a lot of the times you can see that they're scared because they're like, I've never done this. But if you show that you're interested, you do just a little bit of research, as I said, to stand out, we will see it when we are reading your application and when you are the interview that you want to be here.
Thank you. Lovely. Marcus, so what were your deepest worries and how did that compare to the actual reality?
I think I had a similar thing is when we graduated into COVID, so it was a huge stress of like trying to find a job in a declining job market. It was very difficult, but luckily the science part of it, or even clinical, let's say all the COVID centers that were made, they were all looking for jobs. And then the clinical trials company, I think it took me a couple of months of applying to get a job. But I remember I also tried to get a job from the Westminster program. I can't remember what was the name. It was some careers help. But I got some offer there as well. And then I got this one from LinkedIn, and then I just chose to go clinical trials instead of COVID testing, which would have been a good experience as well. But I kind of had two choices. I had to go more kind of into laboratory work or more into clinical work. And since I knew I needed experience to go to clinical work, I just went that route. Yeah. Sorry, what was the second part of the question?
You've done it. So you were just comparing sort of your worries and then the actual reality of what
Yeah.
actually happened. So I'm hearing from you that you were quite open-minded and flexible. So the
Yeah.
fact that you weren't exactly sure, but you just looked at your options and went, yeah, I'll take that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the great plus of biomedical degree is because you do study for these two options kind of what you can do after your degree. Either you want to go into like I said, into lab work or clinical work. Like you will get a very, very good base, very strong base for both of them. So you can just choose what you want. And also it's never like, let's say if you go into one field and then you do it for, let's say, half a year, even if you do it less and you understand like, oh, I don't like this, you can always just switch sides, go back to the other one.
Agree. That's what happened to me 1,000 years ago. So yeah, you can try things. You're not stuck. So that's brilliant. Marcus is saying, just take an opportunity, try it, and then change it. If you don't like it, you've got some experience under your belt. That's marvelous too. So all of you now in the same order, another question. So what I'd like you to do now is very briefly just describe the hiring process for your current role. What did they put you through? So I'm assuming that you applied with some sort of documentation and then they put you through some discriminatory tests. So starting with Debs, what happened to you? What did they do to you?
Okay, what torture was I subjected to? So I applied through LinkedIn. I submitted a CV, a very tailored CV, as well as a cover letter. Once I submitted that, they got back to me with sort of a video introduction situation. And then they invited me for a face-to-face interview. So this consisted of a 10-minute sort of, I had to do a 10-minute presentation, actually. They gave me a topic or a question that I had to prepare beforehand. So I presented a 10-minute presentation on that. I think that was just, again, to see my oral skills, my presentation skills, how well I am at presenting data. Once that was done, then I had like a panel interview. So it was very, just as Beatrice said, they don't expect you to know everything. It was very basic. They're very understanding that you're fresh out of uni, it's okay. So they asked me very basic questions about my skills, whether I'd like to work in a team or individually. And then once that was done, they did like a little lab tour, which was really nice. And then I was offered the position shortly after. So
wonderful. Thank you. Lovely. Really nice and clear. Okay, so comparing this now to Tazin, your course, what was the process for you to get where you are?
So the application process is fairly straightforward, where I have to do a personal statement and then submit my application through UCAS. Before that, I have to do the UCAT exam. So the entry requirement for physician associate in St. George's is that you have to have the UCAT exam, have a minimum score of 500 in each section. The UCAT exam is I think everybody knows, but just it's an aptitude test for medical schools and also other healthcare professions to just have a basic knowledge in terms of situational judgment and other basic science knowledge. And after that, I was invited for MMI, so the mini multiple interview, where that was very daunting. I hate MMIs. Which is small interview cubicles where you are given a scenario and then you have to just act on it. What are you going to do? What's your steps? And yeah, that's it.
Lovely. That's really interesting to hear, because I expect some of our attendees might be a bit daunted by that kind of clinical cubicle type assessment test.
Yeah.
But it's something that, again, I don't think they're going to test you to a really high level. They just want to see, can you cope? And can you keep communicating? And do you go to pieces, or are you just going to take a deep breath? And even if you don't know, you're just going to do your best, think through the situation, be safe and communicate. So well done getting through those. Yeah, awesome. Okay, and Beatrice, are you still managing to be with us? Can you answer this?
Is it? Did you say was it that first role that we got straight out of uni, or was it our current role? Sorry, I didn't.
Either or both. It's up to you what you want to describe in terms of, you know, what was the process. You could even give us both if you like, to compare the different processes.
I might start with the one straight out of uni, because I think people might find that one a little bit more helpful, and then I'll just go quickly into the current one. So straight out of uni, it was during COVID, so I had an online interview. That process, so the application, I don't know if anyone is familiar, so you're trying to find jobs if you want to be in the NHS in the NHS jobs website, and you can kind of tailor into what area you want, what specialty you want, and then you don't really send your CV and a cover letter. There is an application process which kind of combines both a CV and a cover letter together, but you don't individually have to send it. You need to complete an application form, similar to how you would do to get into a university course. And then once you got to the interview, so I got a lot of questions on safety of the lab, a lot of situational questions. So if there was a fire alarm, and you were carrying out an experiment, how would you react? What would you do? I got a lot of questions as well about the values of the trust, so the company that I was applying for, which is very important to do background reading on the place you're going to be going for, because there is a lot of questions regarding what their values are and how you meet them and what you can bring to the team. There was a lot of questions in regards to that as well. I think overall the most important thing is do your research, which is what I found the most helpful. Do my research both in the department, both in the company, as well as a little bit of revision, I would call it. So if you're applying for any area, let's say blood science, if you do just a little bit of background reading on what you learn at Westminster, you can kind of impress them, and be, so during my time at Westminster, I learned about this, and I know you carry out this sort of tests on a daily basis. I have the background knowledge on this, although I might not have the actual practical experience, but I know how the test works. You know, kind of using what you learn to tell them you know about it, even though you might not have the technical experience. I found that was really helpful as well. So I'm kind of now transitioning to a new role, into a senior role, and for that one, it was a bit more of a lengthy process. I did have to do a written exam and a practical exam, and again, I'm not gonna lie, this is all from the knowledge that I gained at Westminster. There was a lot of tissue recognition and identifying certain features within tissue, which is all from what I learned at Westminster in reality. So sometimes, depending on the role, you will have a written exam or sometimes a practical exam as well, where they'll look and see how you act in a lab, how you behave in a lab, and the other one will be more into looking your knowledge and how you work under time pressure. That's usually what they look for more than it's just see how you work in that time pressure.
Oh, thank you, Beatrice. So this is heartwarming to me, because I know that our students get very anxious when we give them essay-based assessments and under any sort of time pressure. But there are reasons, because we need to hone a few of those skills, because that will help you stand out if you can cope with that kind of thing too. So that's really good to know that you were successful in terms of, you know, going through that ringer. Oh, Marcus, last one. So describe to us, please, the process of how you were selected for your current role.
Mm-hmm. So if for I know the university is quite different from St. George's because we didn't have UK CAT exam. So for my uni, you needed to do a Casper test, which is in lengthwise it's similar. It's over two hours, but it's all about is kind of situational judgment. But everything and every answer is filmed, so and you can't re-record it. So I remember I wasn't under a lot of pressure this year. This year I got a worse score actually than last year. But yeah, I was just under pressure. Sometimes you think, you know, when you have an experience in something that you will go and do great, but if the nerves get best of you, just when you get that 10-minute break in the middle, just try to, you know, get it all out. So yeah, I did that exam, and then I had a personal statement I needed to do as well. And I know for Queen Mary, if you want to do PA there, like absolutely everyone from my course has clinical experience. We have quite a lot of nurses there. Almost everybody has done HCA from half a year to a year. So I think that will be very, very good if you can have that. Because even if you look on student room, everybody says that even if they had experience, the feedback was that it was not enough experience. So it's good to start doing that. Let's say even if you do one bank shift a month while you're a student on a weekend, that would already count as, you know, on paper, it's experience. So I really advise you to do that. So yeah, I did that and then the test, and then I had an interview as well, which was also the MMI interview, which I also hate. It's so much pressure, and you know, if you do have anxiety, it's usually when you're on an interview with somebody, you kind of at one point you familiarize yourself and you calm down. But since that interview means they will jump you around from person to person, it kind of, you know, the stress keeps coming back. Um, but yeah, what questions they ask is same situational judgment and your experience, what you had, and why you would want to do this course. Obviously, because it's very competitive to get into PA. They just want to see that these places go to the people who actually want to do it, and would like to pursue a career in healthcare. Yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, Marcus, that's brilliant. So Marcus is saying about be prepared for sometimes a stressful experience if you want something, and to be prepared for those questions about why do you want to do this? Because you might have done your research, you might have, but then that question can really hit you. Why do you want to do this? And most of us probably haven't really thought through why. Why do I actually want to do? And be able to give that confident, fluent answer. So yeah, thank you, Marcus. Brilliant. All right. So in this bundle of questions, I've got one more for you in the same order. What specific skills in your degree course that your degree course gave you did you found most useful now in your current role? So starting again with Debs from the top. So what specific skills do you remember acquiring through the course of your degree that you are using right now?
So, so for those who have just joined or joined later, so I work for a gene therapy company. So we're mainly working with AAV gene therapy, so gene therapy through virus. And I remember when I first started my job, I was like, oh my gosh. I remember a module, or I remember a specific lecture where it was very much what I'm doing now. So I would say the knowledge from specific modules was one. I feel like I did a lot of oral presentations throughout my time at Westminster, both in my undergrad and my master's, just constant like presentations, a 10-minute presentation. That really helped because even in my current role, there are times where I do have to give presentations or present my work in science meetings each week of what I've done or the results that I've produced. And then, of course, again, you've got lab experience. I would say this one, so I wasn't the most confident, if I'm to be honest, like going into the actual lab, just because, of course, when you're in uni, you're doing a lot of group work, you're sort of all following the protocol. And if some weeks you're lazy, you don't really read the protocol beforehand when you should. And you're sort of relying on sort of the next person to kind of hold your hand through. So I think I had basic lab knowledge and lab practical skills, but I think when it came to being independent, that was something that I had to sort of grow on. But I would say the two things that Westminster taught me was definitely the knowledge, and then just being confident in presenting and being able to articulate scientific data. Yeah.
Thank you, Deb. So when we ask you guys to do a presentation and you think, oh, I'm too scared, I don't want to do it, then just, there is a reason. We are not trying to talk to you. So, okay, so same question to Tazin.
So same as Deborah, in terms of specific skills, I would say communication is one. So doing those presentations, working in a lab within a team, and coming up with a treatment or coming up with a diagnosis, coming up with an answer of that whole lab procedure will make you critically think about so what are the differentials? So what am I thinking? So in terms of that, implementing into my current studies, when I am seeing a patient, so just to have a background of what a physician associate, because it's fairly new and it has come to UK in recent years. Physician associates are general healthcare professionals that work alongside with doctors, nurses, HCAs, and other healthcare professionals, and they work in a multidisciplinary team where they treat, diagnose, and manage common conditions, and they are always being supervised by a doctor. The only difference between physician associate and doctors are that we can't prescribe, and doctors can prescribe, and also we can't order ionizing radiation such as x-rays. So when we are seeing a patient, we are thinking about, what's been going on, what's the differential diagnosis are. So when I was in Westminster, when I was doing my thesis, during my third year, I was doing a literature review, and I had to evaluate the quality, the relevance of that data, and then critically think, how good it is. So yeah, I think critical thinking and working within a team are two of the most important skills that I've learned from Westminster.
That's really nice and clear, thank you. And also different from Deb's. So really clear to see those different skills that you both have from your degree, and you're using them, those different, one of you's using slightly different skills than the other one. So really useful. Thank you. Beatrice, are you still able to be with us? Beatrice is waiting on some samples, I think. So.
Yeah, sorry, I had to pop out. Can you repeat that question again?
The question here is, during your degree, what skills did you acquire that you really use now in your current role?
I will say that a lot of the assignments that you gave us in terms of writing and maybe presentations, that is very useful on the workplace, because a lot of times you will have to give presentations either to other peers or to new staff members, and then assignments working under pressure, as I was mentioning, is very helpful, because you tend to be working on sort of a deadline, because it's a clinical laboratory, so you are here for the patients. A lot of the things are time sensitive, so having that understanding that you need to complete something on a certain timeline was very helpful. I found that a lot of the information and content that we were given by Westminster has also helped me a lot on my practice. Things like we learn a lot about quality, about the importance of ensuring you have the scientific knowledge of what you're doing, because a lot of the times in a clinical laboratory, you will be doing the technical work and you might forget why you're doing it on a certain way. And the moment you stop doing it that certain way, you are compromising the quality and therefore the result that the patient will receive. So a lot of that, I remember having lectures, I can't remember which module it was, about the quality, and I remember, oh, this is going to be very boring, and then you come into the workplace and it's all about quality. It's how the importance of it is, and how important it is to have that background scientific knowledge that it's very good delivered at Westminster, I have to say, because to this day, even to interviews that I still go, I still might have like a little bit of my notes that I had at Westminster and be like, oh, let me just quickly go through that, or a little table, and just be, oh yes, I need to do that. So I have to say there's a bit of combination, both using the assessments that sometimes when we are at university we'll be like, oh my God, they're just, giving us all of this work, I'm never going to use it. You're actually going to use it. It might not be specifically for coursework, but into another setting, you will use the skill you gained from that.
Oh, Beatrice, thank you. So Beatrice is encouraging you to keep your uni notes. And I would repeat that. Keep all the effort you put into attending those sessions and making those notes and the learning outcomes, and then keep those, because they're a resource for you later if you need to tailor something. So that was really useful for them. Thank you. And Matty, Marcus, so what skills did you acquire at uni that you're really using now?
So I think the most common thing is obviously knowledge as a skill. Now, for my work, I would say mostly kind of the side of public health and virology was something that, I mean, I am still in that company now for over 3 years running. And then I would say for my master's course would be the knowledge I gained about anatomy and physiology. But I actually wanted to add another angle to this, everyday life. I think a very useful course that we did was the critical thinking. I feel like this is something that I think about daily. And like we had a part about ethics as well. And every time I see something, I really question it from every angle. I start to think about these things like, is there a negative aspect to this, or is it only positives? And it's something that kind of rewired my brain after doing that course about critical thinking and ethics. That was, something I use daily. Not even.
Marcus, thank you so much. So this is really encouraging our students to be willing to change their entire conceptual framework and be open to the effects of the degree. And this is a graduate attribute, that our graduates are going to go out and be open-minded and yet critical, and be able to take themselves out of themselves and analyze something from different perspectives. And that's really useful, Marcus. Yeah, really useful. Thank you. I've got some slightly softer questions for you guys, I guess, now. So in the same order, what do you enjoy most? Sort of very quickly, what do you enjoy most? What do you dislike most about your current role? And then how do you deal with setbacks if they hit you? So it's a three-part question, really. What do you love? What do you not like so much? And how do you overcome those little setbacks?
Okay, what do I love? So I love the fact that, first of all, my role is just very rewarding. I think the fact that we get to develop these therapies for patients who have, terrible diseases that impact them and both their families, I think for me is very rewarding. We regularly get to speak to patients and their families as well to know how these diseases are affecting them. And I think it just puts my work into perspective when I do go in every day. So that's what I love. What do I hate, I suppose? We're in the world of working from home, which I can't really do. So that's, but it is what it is. I think sometimes it can be discouraging when things don't work or when experiments don't go to plan. I would say that's, of course, part of the setbacks, but it's expected. And I think it allows for critical thinking, and it allows you to, it makes your work not as routine as it would if everything was just sort of going smoothly. So yeah, setbacks happen, experiments fail a lot. Even the other day, I was trained recently on a new technique that didn't go to plan. But I think, again, it's just adding to my experience of, okay, I'm learning, I'm developing, and I'm growing. And that's okay. So yeah.
That is awesome. To be able to see a setback as a learning experience, genuinely to be able to do that's really powerful. So all of you guys, I would encourage you to do the same as Debs and just go, okay, that didn't work, but I learned something, and it's painful, but you learn and you grow. So really useful. Thank you. Tazin, so what do you really love about it? What do you not love so much? and how do you overcome setbacks when they hit you?
What I love is seeing patients having that smile on their face and reassuring them, taking care of them. So whenever we are in the ward rounds, as I'm a student now, I can't really do that much. But again, having that conversation with the patients after the ward rounds, oh, this is what's happening, what's bothering you, what's your concerns, they really open up, and then that smile or that reward feel very noble. Oh, you're making a difference in their lives. And what I hate is that 2 years course. This is a 2 years course, but even though it's a master's, it's a very condensed and very um, competitive in terms of study. It's a lot, because you are condensing all of the medical conditions and diseases in 2 years, and there are exams, OSCEs. You always have to study, lots of independent study, lots of practice of OSCEs. You will get burnt out. I am getting burnt out from the placements and everything, but trying to overcome it, so you have to have that rest and also then restart again. Don't give up. That's the thing. Just trust the process, and then you'll be done in 2 years, hopefully.
Awesome. It's really useful for our soon-to-be graduates to understand that if they put themselves in a tough situation, that they will get tired, and then maybe to look after themselves, because it's not a short haul, it's a long haul, and just to keep resilient and keep going back. This is really useful. Thank you. Okay, Beatrice. So, what do you love? Are you
Yes, I'm here.
able
Okay.
what do you love about what you do? What is most challenging, or what you don't like so much, and how you overcome those little setbacks?
So I have to say, I absolutely love my role. I think how you can see how much of a difference that you can make into a patient, not just diagnosis, but type of treatment that they can have. For example, the other day we received the tissue in the morning, and by the afternoon that patient, where they didn't have any idea what they had, started treatment, and how much of a difference you can make in that patient, instead of them having to wait months and months to try maybe find out what's wrong. So I found that very rewarding. There are setbacks. It can be very stressful, especially working in a clinical laboratory in the NHS. And with all of the backlog that happened during COVID, it is very stressful. But you just need to. I think it's very important to remember your job is very important, but so is yourself. So remember to look after yourself as well, to seek help when you don't know. A lot of the times people think, oh, I'm in the workplace, I must be here just for work. But no, they give you a lot of support. You have your line manager, you have other departments that are in charge of maybe mental health support or any physical support that you may need. So always look after yourself. And sometimes I think people forget about that, and the importance of it, because if you're not good, you're not going to be good at your job, which is also, so make sure you look after yourself. And other setbacks that you can find in any career, you're not always going to get that role that you want at the first time. You'll apply for hundreds of jobs in your whole career. You might not always get the role at the time you want, but you'll eventually get it. Think that, oh, I didn't get it this time. What can I do to ensure next time I get it? Because that will happen. Whichever career you choose, you have setbacks. You have times where you're like, oh, I really wanted that job and I really thought I did very well on the interview, but I didn't get it. Just try to get feedback and see, how can I improve? What can I do to, be better next time, or to, see that they see myself as the right person for that role. It's something that you always have. And I always will say that one thing that people underestimate as well is the importance of knowing, especially if you're going into a biomedical science role, which is what I mean, knowing about the IBMS and the HCBC, which is, how, if you know and you show that you know about that, you're already standing up here. So I would say, if you feel like you could be doing more, maybe just ask for help, ask other people. LinkedIn is very useful as well. You can just chat to people that are already in that field, especially for those that are graduating now. If you want to go into the specialty, find someone that is in that specialty, in that role that you aim to be. Ask for their feedback, ask for their if there is anything that they recommend you add to your interview or to your application, just seek help. I'd say, ask as much as you can. If they don't answer to you, try someone else.
Okay, good advice. So be resilient and be prepared to just keep asking for that advice. Awesome, thank you. And Matty Marcus. So what do you love about your current role? What do you not love so much, and how do you overcome the challenges?
So I'm going to talk about my course because I think
Sure.
maybe it's more interesting. But what I love about my course is I'm personally like a very hands-on person, and the PA course is quite like an equal division of studying, doing lectures, and then the other hand you have practicals. So we have a lot of practicals and placements. So I think it kind of comes to half of the year you kind of do lectures, and I would say half of the time you're actually, we have like kind of our own play hospital where we go in Ilford, and then we try to learn new clinical skills there, like medical assessments, how to do them. And then the whole summer and spring, I think it's 4 months, we have placements in different hospitals in different departments, which helps you get skills in the specific field, and then also helps you decide of what you like the most. So where would you like to specialize after you graduate? And what I don't like is probably the same as Tassin's one, is the amount of material, learning material we have is it's very intense course. So you really need to be kind of on top. You need to have a plan of how to get through the studying. I would say it's like almost every day, I would say, has a new topic. So you kind of need to learn it and revise it weekly. So yeah, I think, but if you're a very good organized person, I think you could be very, very resilient in this. For me, it's still something that I'm trying to kind of progress in my skills list, is being very organized. Yeah.
Thank you. So Matthew Marcus is saying all that organizational skill, that pain of learning that, then that will be valuable to you if you want to put yourself into something like PA training. So really useful, Marcus. Thank you. Okay, so we're kind of a little bit over time now. I expect the alumni team might be telling me off here. So we've got time now for our attendees to ask you guys some questions. So I'm sort of hoping that our moderators have got a list of questions for me. Is that the case?
Hi Lorna, thanks everyone
Hello.
for everything so far. It's really, really interesting. Yes, I've already sent you the link, but I'll send it to you in here now, Lorna. And you can see it's just a shared Google Doc.
Thank you. How did you, bear with me guys, how did you send me that link, Hayden?
It was in one of the many emails that we exchanged,
right.
but
So
don't worry, you can check your messages in here and then click on the doc.
All right, I will do that. Let's see. Just going to go to these messages. Oh, I see it. Thank you very much. That works beautifully. All right. So we've got some questions, and these questions to you, our lovely alumni, have come from the students who are attending. So I'm going to just run through them in order. So you attendees, you listen out for when your question has been asked, and then you will get the answer. So I've got some questions for all first, but if it's all right, I'll ask Beatrice's specific question. You've got one, Beatrice, because she might have to disappear. So
yes,
yours,
please.
Beatrice, is, how did your experience as SA help getting into the NHS? So, and how did you articulate your experience in your applications? How did that experience that you had previously really help you get into the NHS, and how did you showcase that specifically in your applications?
So in terms of finding out about the role itself, I just went through the website at Westminster. It was being announced at the time and I just applied for it. So I'm sure if you have a look somewhere in the Westminster website, you'll find out how they can also apply for it. How I used that. So I used, so they'll give you a list of things they expect for that role. So I just kind of compared, okay, so they want me to communicate well with team members. Okay, so what did I do that could be relevant to that? And I just kind of compared things that I did during that doing that role as a student ambassador, and compared to the requirements of the role that I wanted to go for. So if they're talking about communication, I used a lot of communication as student ambassador. I was giving tours around the university for new incoming students. I was answering their questions, just kind of comparing what I did and how I could use that. They might also ask you things, how you able to interact with other people, maybe from different religions or from areas. And again, I could go back to being a student ambassador. You deal with people from all over the world, especially that coming into the university. To see the university, you'll be people from different ages as well. You have the students, sometimes they come with their families. So you're just kind of using and comparing to the requirements of the role specifically that I wanted.
Thank you, Beatrice. So Beatrice is encouraging you guys to be very strategic and to look at the person specifications, details in the adverts for jobs and in the adverts for these positions and into the NHS. What exactly specific skills and characteristics do they want? And then to use all of your experience for all those transferables and to specifically pull them out. So if you hear Beatrice was saying that she used a lot of people skills with her student ambassador role, you may have a different role to the student ambassador role. Maybe you did just group work, coursework, but it's pulling those specifics out. It's really useful, Beatrice. Thank you. So guys, I think Beatrice is on a very tight timeline. They've got her in the lab. She's got some clinical samples. So I completely understand if you need to be elsewhere. I thank you very much for what you've given us today. It has been really useful and really marvelous to the students. So if you need to go, then just feel free to otter off.
Thank you. I will have to go, but as I told Hayden, I'm happy for students to send me any questions. I've sent him my uni email that people can drop any questions they have about the IBMS or how to become a biomedical scientist. I'm happy to answer them, but I'm sorry, I do have to go.
Really, really kind of you. Thank you so much, Beatrice.
Thanks, Beatrice.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Okay, so to our remaining three, Tazin, Deborah and Marcus, we're just going to keep going through a few of these questions. So we've got a bundle of questions for the physician associate trainees. So this is particularly for Tazin and Marcus, Deborah, so you can have a little break for a few moments. But this one's specifically for Tazin. How is PA studies going? And do you feel there are enough jobs as it's quite new to the UK? So this one is specifically for Tazin here from one of our attendees. How's it going? And do you feel there's enough job roles for you when you actually are going to complete your course?
The studies, as I said before, it's very intense. You have to be on top of your topics and modules in every term, because you have formative exams, summative exams, and then OSCE. So you don't actually have that time to rest, but again you have to rest. So it's a balance between to study and also taking a break. In terms of jobs, I think physician associate studies have been gaining momentum in the UK in the recent years, with more universities offering the accredited programs and increasing the number of healthcare organizations as well, recognizing the value of PAs in the workforce. And I have seen PAs, so St. George's is the longest running course in terms of physician associate, and so the PA course has come to UK in 2003. So since then to now, we have around 3,000 PAs that are working in NHS at the moment, and NHS has outlined an increasing workforce of more than 10,000 by the year of 2036. So hopefully we wouldn't be jobless. So I have seen PAs, my GP practice has PAs as well. So I've seen PAs working in secondary care, in primary care, and I don't think there would be any issues getting jobs. And I myself see working in secondary care. So we'll see about that. Yeah. I don't know what Marcus has anything to add onto that.
No, I think you covered everything very well. And I think, I'm not sure if you mentioned that, but by the end of this year, the GMC should put us into regulation as well. So I think the job market will keep going up. The doctors are very opinionated. So I'm not sure how it will all go. But yeah, I think with GMC regulation, and we're probably going to have an extra course on prescribing in your
In terms of prescribing, yeah.
So I think the job market will keep going up. As Tassin also mentioned, the NHS and GMC set numbers, the targets of PAs we're going to have in the market is going to go quite high in the next upcoming years. So yeah, I think it's a very, very exciting time. If anybody's interested, definitely look into it. Yeah.
Thank you. Did you hear those wonderful specific answers that our alumni gave? They had their figures. They have their regulatory organisations. They know their profession that they're going to be going into and to be thriving in. So that's awesome. This question almost leads on from your answers. This is another question for both of you. How do you feel about the criticism of the profession, and do you notice this in real life on the job, or is it just found more online? So there's been a lot of criticism, hasn't there, of PA roles, you know, taking doctors' jobs, they're not really qualified enough, a lot of negativity around that. How do you feel? Are you seeing it in real life, or is it just more online?
I'll answer that. I'm not sure about Marcus, but I have worked in primary care, so in my GP placement during my first year, and now so since September, I'm doing hospital placement rotating around different hospitals around London, working with different teams, different specialties, and to be honest, I'm not sure if I'm lucky enough, but I haven't seen it or experienced any negativity from doctors or consultants in terms of PAs. They're very supportive. They're very appreciative that we are here. We are working as a team and delivering healthcare in terms of patients, having that continuity of patient care. In terms of the criticism, we PAs, we are not doctors, and we cannot and must not replace doctors at all. We're not there to take their roles at all. So in terms of the opinions, I think it's mostly online. I have deleted Twitter. I don't pay any attention to Twitter at all at the moment. And my university has given us reassurance that whatever happens, we are there, and PA role wouldn't go away at all. NHS has also said, the health secretary has also mentioned that the PA role wouldn't be put in a hold, or there wouldn't be any decreased number in the jobs. So the criticism, yes, it is out there, but in terms of real life experience, I haven't, as a student, I haven't experienced. I have spoken to different PAs as well, because I was worried myself as well. What am I going to do after I graduate? So the PAs I have spoken to, they're very supported. They say the consultant, the supervisor, they're very supported. They're very appreciated that we are here. We are working in a multidisciplinary team and giving that holistic care for the patient.
Thank you. Marcus, anything to add to that? Have you had any experience of this?
I completely agree with Tazin. I haven't had negative experience. I see it online a lot. So it's really funny to see it. It's almost like, are people changing their opinions in real life? We don't know that. But I mean, being professional is very, very important in any clinical role. I think mostly you need to understand with this role, it's like, yeah, like Tassin said, we are not here to take doctors' jobs away. We're literally here to help them. And most doctors know about this. Like I met a couple of doctors who have 2 to 3 PAs each, and they've said they trust them with their life and that they made their job much, much more easier.
Yes.
So yeah, I think maybe it's the media and the social media that's just getting a lot of kind of, I don't know, boost. So everybody sees this, but yeah, I don't know.
Lovely.
I don't yeah, something to add.
Yeah, this is nice and clear then. Just basically stay away from the negativity around social media. If this is something that you want to do, the jobs are there, the training program, although difficult, is there. And once you're in it, there's nothing but positivity for the role. So that hopefully allays your fears, whoever asked that question. So I've got a couple more questions, Deborah, for Tazin and Marcus, and then I will come back to you if that's all right. So how did you stand out when applying for your master's? This is quite a generic question. What couple of things you did that helped you, do you think, get that master's position? We might have covered this already.
So I would say in terms of my master's program, I did some relevant work experience. So I also worked part-time. So in terms of your role, wherever you're going, it doesn't have to be a specific medical work experience. So when I was working as a part-time, as a retail assistant, then I was private tutor as well for GCSE students. So juggling both jobs and doing my course helped me have that time management skills and organization skills that I resonated in my personal statement. And then during the summer, I did HCA shifts. During the COVID year, I worked as St. John's ambulance vaccinator. And then I also did some online working experience because it was COVID year, so I didn't have that medical hands-on experience. So I did some modules from Brighton, shadowing some GP, and then there are loads of resources online. I'll share my email to give a list of work experience that I have done, so that if students are interested, they can have a look.
Thank you. That would be great. So yours was really just getting that extra experience outside of the curriculum. So really useful. Marcus, anything particular that you think gave you the edge getting this master's course?
I think I'm not sure. Maybe we did the same course in Brighton and Sussex. Was it the medical school kind of? They had like a free course
Yeah,
you could do.
yeah. It's an online platform. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did the same
Lovely.
one.
So Brighton
very,
and
very
Sussex Medical School. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think my work experience in clinical trials, because we learned a lot of different medical, like as a healthcare assistant, to do a lot of different medical assessments, like nasal washes, nasal swabs, ECGs, vital signs. So I kind of put a lot of I don't know how to say it. Like I put a lot of myself in explaining that I know how to do these things, and kind of had that one-to-one patient relationship and how to work in a clinical setting. And then I think that was a big plus probably.
Lovely. So again, that evidence of actual experience, people skills, and even if you don't have it, which you did, Marcus, in a clinical setting, then some kind of experience outside the curriculum that showcases your people skills, your transferable skills, and your time management. So sounds pretty clear. Not easy, but very clear. One last question for you both then, and then I'll go back to Deborah with one. Do you have any particular tips for the MMI interviews to stand out, or to any resources to plan for those?
Practice. To be honest, practice with your family, practice with your friends. Just put yourself out there. One thing they, in terms of MMI interviews, they don't like is rehearsed answers. They just want you to be thinking on your feet. What are you gonna do? They don't want that medical knowledge. They want you to be safe and thinking, oh, what's your next step to do? In terms of my practice, in terms of MMIs, I look through Medic portal. They have loads of questions in terms of NHS hot topics, and then how would you put yourself out there in terms of specific scenarios. The questions are going to be, in terms of PAE interviews, they're going to be very relevant to your career. So they don't want you to know about medical side. Oh, what's an ECG? What are you going to do? Or what are you going to do in terms of euthanasia? Which I think medicine have those interview questions, but in terms of PA, they're going to be very easy ones, saying, oh, why do you want to do this? What happens if a patient's details are wrong? So it's pretty straightforward. You just have to think on your feet and give a safe answer and practice a lot.
Yeah, so practice and go for it. Yeah, lovely. And Marcus?
I don't think I have much more to add. Maybe just, go over the general information of the role or the program you applied for, just so you would know if they ask, because they usually do ask, like, what do you know about this role? But you've probably done your research already, so you can chat about it for a couple of minutes. And I think even like Tassin said, the question bank, like let's say a medic portal, even though like they're probably not going to be the most difficult questions, I think everybody could answer to them. But it's just kind of reading through them, so nothing would be like a surprise that would kind of like, you know, make your brain go empty. Yeah, I think practice would be good, but yeah, like said already, just don't kind of rehearse it so you sound like a robot, because yeah, they just want to see kind of how you think. And
yeah, so practice it just to take the edge off, and then be prepared to use fluid thinking and just run with the scenario and trust your gut once you've done your practice. I guess that seems to be what I'm hearing. Is that right?
Yeah.
One thing I want to add, I don't know if Matthew Marcus had that in his interview. I think most of the interviews, they will ask you why PA and not a doctor, why physician associate and not medicine. So yeah, that question, just rehearse it, what you want to say. Why do you want to do physician associate and not medicine? For me, I wanted a work-life balance. Medicine is a very intensive course. You have to have full passion. Also physician associate, you have to have passion on healthcare, but after doing the 5 years of medical school, you have foundation training, specialty training, which is a lifelong training. In physician associate, we work as a generalist. So if I say I'm working in a GP for 2 years, and after that I want to specialize or go into something else, I can go straight to secondary care. I don't have to start from the scratch again. So that's what I wanted in terms of my career. So
yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. So Deborah, if Deborah is still there, I've got a couple of questions for Deborah, if that's all right. So it's going back to that uni thing, and the question here is, how did you build your confidence in university to attend events? So you were saying about how you built your people skills at uni, but how did you start doing that? What if someone has not started that and they're feeling nervous to start?
Well, I think with me, generally speaking, I'm quite sociable anyway. So I mean, I did a lot of like customer service roles during my time in uni. I think, as Tarsin said, I also did tutoring as well. So I think over the years, I've just built my experience in terms of talking and public speaking and engaging with other people. I would just say to just go for it. I think if it helps, maybe have someone join with you, like a society or events within your uni that they're offering. That might help sort of reduce if you're feeling anxious or if you're feeling a little bit nervous. But I would say the best way to do that is to practice and to understand that everyone has some sort of nerves. I go into things with nerves all the time sometimes, but as you go along, you just sort of, it fades away. So I would say just start small, put yourself out there, bring a friend, start with societies, interact with people who aren't on your course as well. Yeah, I think that's.
Thank you. That's really good. So really good advice. Start small, just get on with it, and maybe bring a friend. So really nice and clear. And another question for you, Deborah. After you graduated, in your role, were there any external exams for professional bodies that you had to take?
No, actually, I think again that was one of my worries, because I know from researching online, a lot of websites were telling me that I had to complete the portfolio and be registered and all of these things, which was something that I wasn't looking to do. And so I thought, okay, maybe that's my only avenue. It's one path, it's a one-shot thing. I didn't have to complete any external exams or qualifications. I think it helped that I did have my master's degree. So yeah, till this day, I still don't have a portfolio of any sort or registration per se. So yeah, it wasn't a requirement for my current role and isn't a requirement to progress in my role either.
That's nice and clear, lovely. So another question for you particularly, Deborah, because we've got lots of interest in your role in gene therapy. What were your expectations starting out in your position, and were those expectations met or were they exceeded?
I think for me, when you think of lab, for me personally, it was just automation, automation, automation. That's how I thought it was going to be. I didn't think that I was going to be so hands-on. So I think it's exceeded my expectations in that sense, in the fact that I am actually very hands-on. I do actually have to think about what I'm doing. It's not so routine. Very independent in terms of actually planning experiments, conducting experiments. It's not just whacking things on a machine and having something come out the other end. It's very much hands-on, it's very much proactive. And the work that we do at the end of the day is impactful as well. I work within a company where there's different professions. So there's people working in sort of the law side of it, making sure that what we're developing is patented, and we have business development. So I interact with, so because I work for a biotech company, we're not just scientists, we're a group of different professions sort of coming together for this one cause and this one aim that we have. So I think that's something that exceeded my view of my role.
Thank you. Sounds really exciting getting to know all those other areas of expertise and working so closely with them as well. Awesome. And not so many exams and tests as the other alumni here. So a question here about little ad hoc things you did at uni. So you've mentioned, all three of you, you've mentioned experiences that you did, but one specific question here is, were there some just small ad hoc things you did whilst at uni that you believe were advantages to you and made you stand out? So any little ad hoc experience or thing you did that you would say, you know, that was really worth doing?
Keep in contact with your lecturers. That's one thing I will say. My supervisor honestly was amazing in terms of helping me just navigate life and navigate the working professional world. I think a lot of the time you're in your final year, you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my life? And it's even worse when you have families. Oh, you're graduating in, you know, a month or so. What are you doing? And you're kind of like, well, I haven't quite figured it out yet, and I'm still trying to figure it out. And I think having that relationship with my supervisor, and just, I would send my CV, I would get advice on where to look, on how to sort of present myself, because I had the skills there. It was making sure that I translated that onto paper, and having that relationship as well was, like, I think for me was the crucial thing to help me to keep going, because you will feel like giving up and you will feel like this is a little bit much, but that really helped me to continue. And I think I owe it to Westminster and my supervisors for helping me through that. So
that's useful. So be proactive and just ask those questions and keep that relationship going. Yeah, lovely. What about Tazin and Marcus? Any little ad hoc thing you did that you think actually that gave an edge to what I was doing, that helped me out?
I think same as Deborah, being proactive and keen and inquire about what are you going to do. So in terms of my career, so I was inquiring about the physician associate role to each university, how they work, what's their day-to-day life, and then I had sorry, I have a cold. And then helping to gain more knowledge and understanding, what am I going to do in these 2 years of master's program, and then how it's going to be, how intensive it is, and then also tailoring my personal statement in terms of my relevant work experience. I was in contact with the careers and with my supervisor as well, and getting that references. So just be proactive, be keen, and
And I can hear Tazin, that you were gathering information a lot about what the different things were going to happen to you. So just asking lots of questions and gathering information and being knowledgeable and prepared about where you're going to go next. Marcus, any little particular thing you did that gave you an edge?
You know what? I tried to think of an answer this whole time, but I don't.
No particular thing. So just all right, fair enough. So Marcus feels like he's covered all of the things he did to prepare himself, I guess, and they seem similar in each case. Being proactive, asking questions, being aware of your options seem to be a thread that runs through all of your answers, which is brilliant. I've got a question here for the two PA trainees. how do you get into bank part-time jobs in the NHS? How do you do that?
For me, it was helpful because I had two nursing friends that were doing bank jobs as a registered nurse, and then the agency they were with, I joined them. So I was doing HCA shifts during the summer. There are loads of agencies on NHS websites and normal NHS. Just if you search up for HCA bank shifts, there will be loads of agencies that are offering local to you or around London, and just pick up on that shifts, and they will give you training. They will give you all the DBS and courses to do before starting the shift, so you wouldn't be feeling overwhelmed when you're doing the shifts. And it is really helpful that you will gain that patient-centered experience. You will see how the wards work, how the clinical practice works, and you'll have that hospital experience firsthand as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. Would you say the same there, Marcus?
Yeah, so I would say I think the best way to do this is to go either NHS website or actually LinkedIn, since LinkedIn has NHS jobs and it also has private companies as well, or you put in a bank contract, HCA, or you can even write out healthcare assistant. Or if you're really interested, I know you can do a course, which is a very short course in phlebotomy, and then you can look for bank shifts or permanent shifts in being a phlebotomist, which is essentially taking blood and cannulating people. And that would give you kind of a higher hourly pay, but also relevant experience in the field.
It's really good advice.
Yeah.
Really
Two
good advice.
options.
I've had lots of alumni do that one. So just to do a short phlebotomy course and just to get into the setting. So that's a useful one. Yeah, thank you, Marcus. I'd forgotten about that, but you reminded me.
Thanks.
So we've got one student here who has actually started as an assistant healthcare scientist at their local NHS trust, and they're asking, have you got any advice for them progressing? So this is either to Tazin or Marcus. Do you know about how they might progress as an assistant healthcare scientist? I probably would say get your degree finished. What do you guys say? We might have lost the connection there. Can you still hear me, guys?
I can still hear you.
I can hear you as well. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So no particular advice for progressing, just in the role.
I don't think I've heard of this role before, assistant healthcare scientist, so I'm not sure I could give you the best advice for this. I'm not sure maybe Deborah or Tassin has heard anything.
So if I'm not wrong, you're doing your course and now you're working part-time as an assistant healthcare scientist. So I would say finish your degree, and then when you have your qualified portfolio, IBMS or the HCPC, and then wherever you want to do, you can apply for the biomedical scientist degree, or if you want to progress to something else, you can have that resonate with your work experience as well.
It's really good advice. Thank you, Tazin. I would also say to the student that asked that question, speak to your line managers. So they will know the structures that you're in at the moment. They will know the local progression, the pay scales, the hoops you have to jump through. So they will have a document that will show you how you move up to the next pay scale and what's required. So all of these things are very clearly laid out. You just need to be asking for that information. So the advice of our alumni in the room today about just keep asking the questions and gather that information. Do that in your setting where you are now, and just ask those people who are senior to you. Look to them. Where do you want to go next? Ask them how did they progress. So just keep gathering that information. So we've got a question about this one was for Beatrice about has she completed the IBMS portfolio? I will answer that one for her. The answer is yes. The student asked how long did it take? That usually takes about a year. So Beatrice has gone, she had to go somewhere else, but it usually takes about a year, tiny bit more dependent on the rotations and the settings. So
Lorna,
she had to go.
can I just jump in? Sorry.
Yes.
I just in the chat, I've just put a link to the healthcare science assistance.
Thank you, David.
So yeah, some of you just mentioned that, and I've just grabbed the end of the call. I'm sort of doing 101 things at once. Healthcare scientists isn't a protected title. It's a sort of all-encompassing terminology that's being used and banded around. So as Megan rightly said, some sites will call that medical laboratory assistants. Some may actually have it as a slightly elevated level, which will be an associate practitioner. So yeah, a healthcare scientist is a sort of overarching terminology that's being used, but it doesn't have a definitive role. Okay, but certainly assistants would certainly be the MLA equivalent. And the link there will give a description of the job and what you'd be expected to do. Okay.
That's really helpful. Thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you.
I'm just listening in here. No, okay. So I think I've got to the end of my questions. There's just one last one here that says, what kind of work experience would be recommended for a PA? I think we've covered that one in terms of both Tarzan and Marcus telling us about those transferable skills and getting into the clinical setting if you could at all. So that one was been quite clear in their answers. If you guys have any last questions, please pop them in the chat and the alumni team will hopefully forward them to me on this Google Doc. Are there any? So
I have also shared my email address, so if anyone has any questions or if they want any resources about PA interview, I can share that with them.
Tarzan, thank you so much. So Hayden, James and Noor, are there any more questions from our attendees?
No, that's it. Oh, one's just come in. I can just read it. Have my moment
wonderful.
in the spotlight.
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone who is interested in becoming a microbiologist?
Wow. I'm not sure Matthew, Marcus and Tasnin would be able to answer that because they're going into PA roles.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe David and I will field that one. In terms of microbiologists, if you're talking about that specific role within being a biomedical scientist, then you would need to get your degree, get your portfolio, and then make it very clear the kind of lab that you wanted to go into. So microbiology, med micro. So all that medical microbiology that we've been teaching you want to be really revising on that and make it clear in your applications that's the way you want to be going. David, anything in particular?
Yeah, I can add to that. So the thing is with the term microbiologist, there's two links to that. So as Lorna just mentioned, if you're going in as a biomedical scientist in a microbiology diagnostic laboratory, it would be the same process as becoming a biomedical scientist. Okay, so it would be IBMS portfolio first, which is generic for any discipline. For registration, and then you would then specialize in what we call the higher specialist portfolio, which is then discipline specific. There may be a request for a master's course in that discipline as well. And that will get you to the higher bandings as a biomedical scientist. If you're thinking about clinical scientist and a consultant microbiologist, there's two ways of entry. One is to go and do medicine and become a clinical microbiologist from a pathology discipline as you've done medicine, or the other is a clinical scientist from the STP scientist training program, which is a slightly different route. And we'll find some information and get information to you guys about the STP process, which is different to the IBMS. Okay, so Sarah, thank you for the question. If you want to, just drop me an email just to jog my brain. As I said, I'm doing 101 things at a time at the moment. So if you want to drop an email with that question to me, then I'll certainly follow up with that for you. Okay.
Thank you very much, David. Yeah, I've just popped
a
little link in about the scientist training program information there for everybody. That might be a useful place to start if you just grab and go and read that there. If there are no more questions, I will just check. Let me see. We've got loads of optional questions, but I think we're pretty much at time now. We were supposed to finish at 12:30. We've kept our alumni a little bit longer. So I'm just going to check through my paperwork and make sure I'm not missing anything. No, I think we're done. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, so I'd like to thank our alumni. because this is a huge amount of time that they have given to us and given to all you guys. So Deborah, Beatrice, Matthew, Marcus, thank you so very much for your time and for being willing to engage with this whole process. And this hasn't just been today, this has been emails going backwards and forwards, looking at question scripts, trying to find a time that suited everyone. So we're very grateful here at Westminster for the time that you've given back to us. Yeah, so have a few thank yous in the chat to them, that would be wonderful. Lovely. And thank you guys for attending, all of you students, and for giving us all your questions, giving us your attention. This is vital information and knowledge, and it's going to take you a long way. And we've just spent these hour and a half, bit more together, to get this information going, to prepare you for the next few steps, which we're all really, really excited about. And thank you very much to our wonderful alumni team. So I have to thank them. So Hayden, thank you for all the backward and forward planning, and for James and Noor for being here today and preparing that Google document and collating all those questions for us. It's been really wonderful. And David, to have you with me too, just to be adding your expertise, really, really useful. Thank you very much.
And thank you to Lorna for steering the ship. Thank you for the thank you to the alumni. It's great to see you here and having you back with us. And as Hayden's put in the text, you can see there is a survey form. So if you can just give your feedback on this session, that would be really appreciated. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys. We appreciate your feedback, because then we'll get it even better next time. So that would be really, really useful for us. Thank you, Hayden.
Thanks so much, everyone. And the feedback, students, is more than welcome, of course. And thanks to the alumni. What a wonderful panel. And to Lorna, a fantastic chair and host. And David, thanks so much for all your help as well. So, yeah.